Assalamu alaikum, good everyone, and I'm here with an interesting topic, and that is to uh, speaking, develop speaking in English. So here is the topic for today's video, and that is developing conversation strategies in English, skills in talk for interaction. Yes. It can be easily identified that I'm here to talk about the skills which we need in conversations, especially in daily life conversations. And the sources I have taken, and those are New Headway Third Edition Intermediate Students book, and we have another book, and that is Speaking Naturally by Bruce Tilt and Mary Newton Bruder. And definitely I have used different internet sources as well. I have given it in the reference section at the end of this slide narration. And this is Mohammad Nasim Ferdous, and I will be here till the end to give you some brief and exposure about developing conversational strategies in English. So let's start with our contents. So here are our contents. We will be starting with the objectives. So why do we need this particular slide narration? Those things will be explored and exposed in objective section, and then we will be introducing the topic and the insights of these topics, and then there will be some facts about conversations, and following by conversational strategies for beginners. We will try to look about different strategies, and what should you tell, and what should you will respond whenever you are in a conversation. And of course we will have some practices, we will have some follow-up dialogues, and I will show you some of the dialogues to give you the brief of what we have discussed earlier. And definitely it will be end with conclusion and questions and sessions, and all other things will be at the end. So let's start with the objectives which we are going to have. So the basic objectives of the slide nation are basic outline of conversation. You will know about the primary level of conversation, and what do we identify, or what do we consider to the reference of conversation, and you will be able to grasp different conversational strategies. At the end you will have different strategies to carry on different conversation in different contexts, and those contexts will be informal and informal in both contexts. So you will be able to converse in formal and informal context. And this particular slide nation will also help you to generate smaller interactional talk, as we will be exploring different strategies to start a conversation, to carry on a conversation, and to end a conversation. So it will help you to generate smaller interactional talk. Maybe you are in a shopping mall, or maybe you are looking for a shop, or maybe you are looking for an address and you are on a street. So those things will be considered as small talk, and those things will be explored and explained in this particular slide narration, and you will be able to do that after completing this slide narration. So let's have this introduction and conversation. You know, it is an interactional function. It has an interactional function. So primarily it is a social function. Whenever you are in a society and you want to perform different social functions, conversation is definitely and undoubtedly really the best way to have those that means whenever you want to express your ideas, you want to share your thoughts, all other things. And it is unplanned speech. I believe you all know that conversation is a part of interactional talk, and that is why you cannot plan a speech in a conversation. For example, you are in a classroom, and you cannot make the lines for yourselves in a conversation with a teacher. So it can be happening. So it is definitely an unplanned speech. And what do they do in a conversation? People exchange greetings, engage in small talk, recount recent experiences, and so on, in order to become friendly and to establish a comfortable zone to interact. Yes, as for example, if you are in a classroom with your buddies, with your classmates, with your friends, and you want to have small conversation maybe about the previous class, so conversation is there. So first you would like to make a comfort zone to interact. Otherwise, if it is not too friendly, the conversation will not be carried on. Or maybe whenever you want to know another person, maybe a stranger, so you need to carry yourself to that comfort zone, whether that stranger can be a friend of you, and or maybe start a friendly conversation, and you can carry on your need and your ideas, what you are going to share. So, so uh, the features. What are the characteristics of the function of interaction? So we know that interaction refers the conversation. So definitely has a primary social function, as I said earlier. Reflects the role relationships. Um, yes, you need to identify the roles, and the relationships in order to carry on a conversation, because if you miscalculate the relationship, if you misjudge the context, then it will not carry on. Reflects speaker's identity. Definitely whenever you will be speaking, that means your identity will be explored. Who are you talking to whom? Those exploration will be there through the speech. Maybe formal or casual. Yes, interaction can be formal, it can be informal, that could be. Uses conversational conventions. Yes, there are some conventions, there are some rules and regulations, so in order to converse with another person, so definitely you need to use those in an interaction. Reflects degrees of politeness. I think I think it is one of the areas the foreign speakers or second language learners are, are, are very shy to achieve. I mean, you can achieve the syntactical structure, maybe lexical, maybe grammatical, but whenever we are talking about politeness, it is hard to achieve, it is hard to compete. I mean, it is hard to have a competence on having the degrees of politeness, because you need to produce different phrases, different lexemes in order to be polite in different contexts and situations. And employs many generic words. Yes, you have to have proper vocabulary in order to use them. You cannot use all of the words in all of the situations. The situations will decide which words will you use and to whom will you use. Uses conversational register. Whenever we are referring register, that means one particular set of words which can be applied in a particular tone or setting. And of course is jointly constructed. Yes, you need to construct all the ideas together in order to have a successful interaction or conversation. So what are the facts? What are the facts in conversations? Uh, in any language, you cannot skip or ignore the presence of styles and the perceptions and the social roles and the relationships among the participants in a speech event. Whenever the speech events are different, whenever the participants are different, whenever their roles are different, whenever their relationships are different, definitely all of the conversations are going to be changed, are going to be different. And the difference you will find in lexicon, that means word-based, phonological, sound-based, grammatical, structure-based, sentence structure-based, and lexical, phonological, and grammatical changes may be involved in producing a suitable style of speaking. So you cannot ignore the style of speaking in a conversation, and definitely those things will decide the situation as well. For example, have you seen the boss? Have you seen the boss? So we can replace the word boss into manager. So then your sentence will be, have you seen the manager? Have you seen the manager? So that means whenever you are producing this kind of sentence, that means you are in a speech event where I mean, to whom you are talking to is known to the boss. So, and whenever you are referring as manager, that means you are new, you are a stranger in that particular speech event. And then what are you doing versus what are you doing? So that is phonological. Definitely you can identify that one is informal and another is formal. So you will find phonological differences in there. Seen Joe lately? Have you seen Joe lately? So you can find that there are different structure of the sentences. Seen Joe lately, and I have used have you seen Joe lately? So you can see the different structure, different structural segments, different structural sentences are there, and those will be referred in different speech events, and that will decide your style of speaking. And you need to understand whether you have produced a suitable style of speaking or not. Okay, we have more facts about conversations, and another one is small talk can also be the primary goal of a conversation, especially when you are talking to people you don't know and are unlikely to meet again. So yes, those situations are common, and you cannot ignore it in your daily life situations. For example, you have gone to a grocery shop and you want to buy some sugar or maybe tea, and that is the time you have started a small talk. So maybe you are on a rickshaw, or maybe you are going somewhere with some transport, and in the time you have started small talk. So those are so there are different goals of those small talk. But the flow of a conversation can be structured in this way. We can start with the greetings, that could be formal or informal, and we will have interactions. Definitely in informal situations, some of the situations will automatically disclose the introductions of the speakers, and you can start with the small talk, and those conversations will be carried on through asking and answering questions. You have to answer a question and you have to produce a question in order to carry a conversation. And of course, under subcategory, you can always clarify. If you don't understand, you can say, excuse me, I did not hear that, sorry, I did not catch you. So those kinds of phrases are there, and definitely you can do that in the context whenever you don't understand your speaker's voice. And pre-closing, definitely it is a good idea to have a pre-closing, because you don't want to be rude in a conversation, whether it is informal or formal. Definitely we have less pre-closing in informal situations, maybe in front of your friends or relatives, but in other situations we do have pre-closing. And closing, that will refer that you are ending this conversation because some other important issues have come to you and you have to attend those things. So that's the flow. So you can have it in a conversations, and the conversations which I am going to throw in the later slides, you will find the similarities and acknowledgement of this flow. So I definitely I am referring it as probable flow, because as this is the structure we can follow, but definitely there are some other ways to have these conversations, but in most conversations you will find and this pretty much applicable. Okay, here are some trivia, some tips or tricks I should tell you, is that in informal speeches words can be dropped. So uh, I know many of you are very much worried about the sentence construction and other issues, but believe me, words can be dropped. Yes, words can be dropped in different conversations, and I have stamped here one sort of conversations, two pairs there. Mike and Grace say, Grace, how are you doing? Grace, Mike, hey, how are you? Mike, not bad. Where are you going? Grace, over to Jace. How about you? So if we look at these two star sentences in here, you can see that we do not have R in between how and you. How are you doing, rather than how are you doing, and in lieu of where are you going, here the conversation used where are you going. So some words can be dropped, and that makes you and that makes this is ungrammatical sentence, but in speaking, in conversation, it is pretty much acceptable. You need to understand that. But if I talk about performance, then definitely you cannot, in a presentation, you cannot do that. And this can be happening in only in daily life conversations. And overlap is very common. Overlap whenever we are referring, whenever one person is talking and in between another person straight jump to that conversation without waiting for the other to stop. So those overlap is very common, especially in informal conversations. And then ungrammatical sentences are usual. Yes, that what I was saying in the first sentences. You can see lots of ungrammatical sentences, but don't worry, they are very usual. And incomplete sentences can be seen regularly. Yes, as there are lots of overlapping in there, so you can have lots of incomplete sentences. It can be maybe the speaker don't want to continue, maybe the speaker starts new sentences, so those are the reasons incomplete sentences can be seen regularly. And yes, those expressions, we are referring them as gap failures. Those are very useful in conversation. So definitely you can use them. They are very useful strategies in a conversation. You can do that. You can do that to show you are thinking. You can do that you are listening. Maybe yes, okay. That means someone is explaining something, and by referring them, that means you are listening very carefully and you are understanding them. So those things are very effective, I should say, in a conversation. In introductions, it would be polite to introduce yourself and ask for the name. Okay, introductions are pretty much necessary in almost all situations, but it will be have a more impact in formal conversations, because if you do not know the name of the conversee, then it will be hard for you to address him or her. So you can do that, but definitely in a polite way. And that's why face saving has always a great impact in a conversation, because if someone feels that he or she is threatened with your words, with your speech, then he or she might not carry on the conversation. He or she might skip you. He or she might ignore you. So definitely you need to identify the face-saving phrases, the face-saving and ideas and strategies in a conversation, as you do not seem rude to the others, to your listeners. Okay, so here are some conversation strategies for beginners. So starting with the greeting, so you can see that there are lots of the ways to greet to your listener, to your responder. So I have shown you from more formal to less formal scale, so you can easily understand the time mentioned. That means good morning, good afternoon, good evening is all time frame, and you can start with that, and those will be very formal. And of course, in our culture, starting with salam or religious greetings, those will be also effective in our situations. And the responses will be the same for time frame mentioned greetings, so you can do that. But you need to remember that you cannot say good night. Okay, you cannot say good night. You are saying good night whenever you are ending a conversation, so you don't want to start a good night to start a conversation. Or maybe when you're going to sleep, that is the time you are saying good night, so do not use good night to start a conversation. And we have how nice to see you, what a pleasant surprise, hello Robert, how are you, hi Bob, how have you been, what's happening, what's new, how are you doing, how are you doing, long time no see. So these are the greetings you can always use, and we have the responses in here. So in order to have more formal to less formal, you can always use these kinds of greetings and responses in a conversation. And for the pre-closing, that means you don't want to continue the conversation, you are going to end the conversation, so that's why you are here. So the phrases, the more common phrases for a pre-closing could be, well, I am afraid I have to be going, I have got to get up early tomorrow, it's been a pleasure, thank you for the advice, I really must go now, it was nice to see you. So yes, look at this here, you should have you was there, and with this marker the respondent should understand that you are going to end the conversation. Well, it's getting late, I know you're busy, nice to see you again, thanks for coming, maybe we could get together sometime, great seeing you, I have really got to go now, see you again, okay, see you, same here, sounds good, it was fun, nice to see you, maybe we can talk again, it was good to see you, yes, I have enjoyed it, my pleasure, thank you for coming. So all these responses and all these pre-closings, they are both ways. You need to learn in both ways. For example, someone say these things and you have to respond with these phrases in order to identify that the person is going to close. And in the same way, whenever you are using these pre-closings, then that means you listeners need to understand that you are going to end the conversations and you will be expecting these responses from your listeners. And in the time of closing, you can use this one. Until the next time, good night Bill, goodbye Harry, have a nice weekend, or maybe have a nice day, talk to you later, see you later. So that would be more formal to less formal. Goodbye, good night Jean, goodbye Lisa, you too, bye, take it easy, so long, take care. So these are all the responses, and so one person could use in a closing. So these are the conversation strategies. So I should not tell you that these are the all, but definitely these are some. These are the few of a whole picture. Definitely you have the book speaking naturally. I have taken these responses as a and Preclosing, Closing, and Greetings from that book. And definitely you will have other sources as well. And there are lots of conversations you will find in Headway books, so definitely you can find that these strategies are being used in different contexts. So that's why I have been very focused, and I have been giving importance especially on the relationship between the speakers, so between the participants. So you need to identify the context, you need to identify the relationship, and that will help you to consider whether it is a formal situation or not, whether it is an informal or formal situations, and that will help you to choose your words and phrases, and to help you to save faces and become polite to your listeners. Okay, now we have some sample conversation, and this conversation is a stranger in town. So you can produce a context. The context could be Flavia. And she is a stranger and she has come to a town. I don't know. You can make it Dhaka, you can make it London, you can make it New York, maybe Canberra. So and there is another person who can be referred as R, and he or she is the hotel receptionist. So that means Flavia wants to rent a room, and she wants to live in that hotel room. So that's why I don't know whether Flavia is a he or she, but I think Flavia is a she. So maybe she needs a room, so that's why she is there. So what type of conversation could be? Hi, I have just checked in and I wonder if you could help me. I will be happy to try. Well, first, I'm not sure if we are near the CN Tower. The CN Tower? It's very close. It's only about a 10-minute walk. Oh, good. Can you tell me if there are many good restaurants nearby? Lots. One good one is in the Cafe Giovanni. It's casual, but they have very good food. Sounds wonderful. Oh, and I need to get some traveler checks, but I don't know what time the banks close. Most banks don't close until 5:30 on weekdays, but some have extended hours. Thank you for very much. Oh, I'm sorry, but I can't remember which restaurant you suggested. The Cafe Giovanni. Cafe Giovanni? Got it. Thanks for your help. My pleasure. So now look at this conversation. You can see that and the starting is pretty simple, starting with hi, because it is less formal situation. Flavia was a hotel attendant, not hotel attendant, he's the guest, she's the guest. Sorry, she's the guest, and the receptionist is there to help her, and the information she asks. So you can see lots of question and answer session is there, and we can consider it as a small talk, because so Flavia needs some informations, and that's why she asked to the hotel receptionist. So those are the things, but do not forget to focus the stress and intonation I have used in the conversation, because those will help you to identify the context and the understanding what are the things and how the things going to end. And last of all, I should tell you, whenever Flavia gave a note of thanks for the help, in reply the hotel receptionist said my pleasure. So rather than using welcome, my pleasure is a very good one. So and that is a pre-closing there. So maybe there should be a closing, but in informal situations you can do that. You can do a closing without a pre-closing. Okay, we have another sample format, and this particular conversation is about compliments. So whenever one person is trying to compliment another one, we have Kel and RC. So I'll be having this dialogue, and you can have the context, write down the context, and it will always look good if you put that in the form. hey man, how are you doing? So look at these things. I have said earlier that and some words can be dropped in a conversation. So R is dropped in here. Not too bad. How about you? What's the machine you are learning on? Somebody pay you to look after his wheels? Okay, so wheels and machine, so these are the register I was talking about. So what's this machine you are leaning on? So if somebody pay you to look after his wheels, so some sort of humor there. So that person is referring this particular transport as machine first and the wheels later. So all the things are the same. So particular register are there. So that's the important thing. No, it's mine and the bank's. Okay, so you can understand that the person who owns the car got loan from the bank, so that's why he referred that mine and the bank. Then there is a whistle in there, and she's a beauty. How she drive? So you can see another wardrobe there. So that means the person is complimenting, and whenever you are referring a beauty, you need to produce a she. Like a dream, even on the potholes around here. So that means you can consider it as a slang that is very informal use. That means the roads which are bumpy, which are not straight, maybe there are lots of holes in there. So even in there, that's great, man. Maybe you will let me borrow her sometime. Glad you like it, but my own mother doesn't get to use it. Anybody does it, it's going to be me. So you see another sort of conversation is very funny and very interesting as well. And Cal says that even his mother don't I mean, and he doesn't allow his mother to drive the car. So anything is going to happen is done by him. So maybe the dance, maybe the enjoying, everything would be done by him, Cal. Yeah, I can understand that. I would do the same if I had a machine like this. Well, see around. I can tell you that whenever I have got a new motorcycle, I had the same judgment, same thoughts in my mind. If you had asked or borrowed me, if anybody wanted to borrow my motorcycle that time. Okay, then now look at the closings and pre-closings. So well, see, we aren't so long. Okay, so these are the pre-closings. So we have seen earlier. So you can always use these. So these are the complements. So this is the conversation, and you can see lots of the features we can synchronize whenever we see this conversation. And we have one more dialogue to carry on. Let's sample format conversations, and this is an interview, and we have three persons there: interviewers Sarah and Lindsay, and the title is teenagers and parents. So that means this conversation is going to be on the teenagers and parents, different issues and situations about this. And we have interviewer and Sarah and Lindsay. So definitely you can produce the contest and you can post it in forum. Tell me, what are some good things about being a teenager and not an adult? Well, for one thing, you don't have to go to work. So look at these gap failures. I have been saying this earlier that you can use this. It is a good strategy, and it always help you to not only develop your lines, but also not only generate or create your lines, but also help you to give a good sense before your speech. Yeah, and you don't have to pay bills. So yeah is another informal or semi-formal way to express. Okay, and you can go out with your friends. You can see lots of dots in there. That means it is overlapping before the interviewer is going to start. Lindsay has carried on, and you can see it is a common response. So whenever the respondents or the listeners is speaking, so you need to use these particular phrases or words in order to confirm that you are listening. And you can go out with your friends, and you can go shopping, and you can go to the cinema, and you can, oh come on. So you can see Sarah stopped Lindsay and started with one. So we can see the use of overlap in here. Oh come on, Lindsay, adults can do all that too. But what's different is how much freedom teenagers have. Don't have, you mean? So Lindsay says that you don't have. So right, how much freedom we don't have. I mean, I always have to tell my mom and dad where I'm going and what time I'm coming home. So you can see that whenever I have delivered this and sentences, I have stressed and producing intonations in order to show the disappointment, and maybe some other expressions which can be showed that Sarah did not like these kinds of things to tell his mom or dad about her going outside or coming back to home. And what time do you have to get back home? It was saying, and by 10 o'clock on a weekday, maybe 11, 12 at the weekend. It doesn't matter because you never have enough money anyway. Definitely you get pocket money from your parents, but it's never enough, and you are not allowed to buy whatever you want. Then it was saying, okay, life is tough for kids, but what do you think it's like being an adult, Lindsay? Well, adults have to worry about paying the bills and taking care of their family. They cannot always do what they want when they want. They have responsibilities, you mean? So look at these responses in here. Whenever Lindsay is saying something and which is not clear, or maybe the interviewer wants to have more clarification, so that is the time interviewer use these kinds of phrases. Yeah, I feel more sorry for my mom than my dad. She's always rushing around and she has to go to work as well. She doesn't have to work on Thursdays and Fridays, but she still has loads of different things to do in a day, like shopping and cooking and taking me to dance classes. And you were, so do you think your dad has an easier life? Well, I don't know. He has to drive over 500 miles a week. So tell me about his school. What are some of the rules at his school? Ah, like this thing. You have to speak this one. Ah, there are so many. Let's see. We can't wear makeup. We are not allowed to chew gum. We are not allowed to bring mobile phones to class, and there are millions of rules. So, that is another overlap. So whenever Sarah is saying and Lindsay just took from her, there are millions of rules, all of them stupid, and if you break one of these rules, you have to stay after school. Well, speaking of school, I have got to go. I have got to do my homework. So this is another way of closing. So definitely you can do that. So it is a semi-formal. So definitely you can understand that it is not a total formal conversations, because informal conversations you are not going to explore or expose many situations. So that's it. Okay, so if you want to have more practice, you know what to do. You have new headway book and you have speaking naturally. There are lots of conversations out there. Just you need to focus on and carry on. I have taken these conversations from these two books. I have to tell you that. Okay, so we are now at the very end. So that means we are concluding this slide narration, and in the conclusion, and we have this thing, that is formal English is used in, for example, books, official documents, news reports, business letters, or official speeches. Information is used in every conversation and in personal emails. So maybe the English we are using in the books, official documents, news reports, business letters, official speeches. So you can have this formal English in there. So rest of the things maybe in your daily life conversation, from going outside from your home to your classes, maybe in the restaurants, you most of the time use informal English, but definitely there are existence of formal speeches for example in offices or maybe in your classrooms, so with your teachers. So those are there. And I have to tell you, and I believe you will be agreeing with me that written text and spoken text are different. Yes, they are pretty much different. You will have lots of the things in written text which will be absent in spoken text, and you have to rely on the stress and intonation which are not present in written text. Rather than we are going to look at the punctuation marks in a written text in order to understand the sense so which the sentences are providing in a written text or written discourse. And of course, as I have said, you have to listen carefully to identify the stress and intonation, because they are going to produce different meanings in different contexts. So stress and intonation, they are producing lots of the things. Okay, so here are the references I talked about at the very beginning of this slide nation. Hopefully you can pause it and you can carry on these things. So I believe you will have questions, and questions are necessary. Whenever you are asking questions, that means you have listened carefully and you have lots of things to explore and expose. So I believe you have the questions. If you do not have, then I will be recommending you to start from the beginning and try to listen again. So thank you very much for being present, for being listened carefully, and hopefully this will help you to develop your speaking, especially in conversations. I believe you will have developed lots of the things through this live nation. So thank you very much for being present here.